What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Glenn Brian Frizzell. Today we are filming an historic Lincoln building in the 18th and Vine Jazz District. Today's special guest is seeking your vote as the 5th District City Council right here in Kansas City, Missouri. Let's give a warm What's Up, Kansas City welcome to Miss Alissia Canady. All right. Miss Canady, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. I am born and raised in Kansas City. Graduated from Northeast High School in the class of 97. And I got my undergraduate degree at Park University in Finance, graduate certificate in Community Economic Development, and I got my law degree from the University of South Dakota. I currently serve the citizens as a Jackson County prosecutor, and I am in the Independence Office and handle general crimes, drug crimes, and have previously been the neighborhood prosecution or community justice coordinator.
Awesome, awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to get that particular job? Was it paved with, was it easily paved, or did you have to kind of work it?
Okay, and your question was it easily paved, or did I have to work at getting it? I did not have a direct path to this position I currently have. I took a very non-traditional path. I began working full-time my junior year of high school. So I've been working full-time since I was 17 years old, and so I've worked really hard for everything that I've accomplished. Grew up raised by a single parent, had to help out, and knew the kind of life I wanted to have, and so and applied the work ethic that my parents and grandparents instilled in me. And so when I graduated high school, I went straight to work and not college, but I knew college was important, so I worked full-time and went to school part-time. So Park was a good choice for me in that way, and I was able to accomplish my undergraduate degree in finance and worked in banking and finance and real estate at different capacities during that time period. Was a business owner and decided I wanted to do more in real estate to empower my community and build it up. And I realized there weren't many African-American women that were in commercial real estate or development in Kansas City. And so someone suggested I go to law school. And I had an interest in law. I went to Northeast, which was a law magnet theme at the time, and I did youth court and was a youth court attorney, long ago.
Youth court.
And so that came back around full circle, almost, it was a long time later. And I decided to go to law school, and was recruited by the dean of the University of South Dakota, and went there with the interest of coming back and applying that and doing deal work in real estate development. And when I graduated, I came out a semester early, and it was at the fall of 10, and the real estate market was still tanked out, and those opportunities weren't there. And so my mentors encouraged me to get some trial experience, and so that's how I ended up in the prosecutor's office.
That's awesome. And the only reason I asked you that, Ms. Canady, is because we on What's Up Kansas City, we do promote the value of hard work, and that you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. And from hearing what you said, you did not let those obstacles prevent you from being successful and landing a very prestigious job. So accolades to you, and hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about you here. The 5th District has been going through some turmoils. You know that our interim city council person is Coquita Hill, but we are electing a new person on April the 7th. Can you tell us a little bit about how you've responded to citizens' concerns within your district?
I've had the pleasure of working with my community in my role in the prosecutor's office, as I said earlier on, as the community justice coordinator, neighborhood prosecution. My role was engaging neighborhood leaders and stakeholders to find out ways we can proactively address the issue of crime in our community. So for the past since I've been in the prosecutor's office since 2011, I've served the community in that capacity. And so I've met with hundreds of neighborhood leaders, neighborhood association leaders, and community stakeholders to identify what are the issues that we're dealing with at the basic level that are barriers to our success, and what do we need to do proactively to overcome issues. And so some of the top things that come up are the abandoned houses, the blight that's in the community, having strong neighborhood partners, meaning owner-occupied homes, people that are invested in the community and what's happening, versus a transient population. and basically just empowering the residents that live within the community. You know, when you have high unemployment, you know, sometimes out of desperation, crime becomes prevalent. And so that's what we've seen. And in my experience, it's really, and from the perspective where I sit as a prosecutor, and especially as someone who has come from this community, you know, I have adopted the phrase, it's easy to criticize someone's choices when you don't know what they had to choose from. And so I bring a very unique perspective to this role because I know what they have to choose from. I came from the same environment. I had to overcome the same obstacles. And I was very fortunate to have an inner belief that I could make it out and have those external influences that created those bridges of opportunity for me.
So direct experience. During one city council meeting, residents demand from change, and I'm reading this from the KSHB TV website. One citizen, a lifelong Kansas City resident, rather Calvin Brown, remarked, "City council members city council members need to drive through the streets and look at the youth that are not working, not in school, with no prospects and low education. What can we do for them? What can we do for our youth?"
I think we need to provide them with opportunities. I think that, you know, some of the young people that are there, they've decided, they made decisions based on what they know. And so we need to provide more opportunities for exposure to real opportunities. You know, Mr. Brown is, he's a member of labor. You know, he's skilled labor and actually teaches a training class out at the Union Hall. And so we had conversation at length about, you know, what the opportunities have been to get people to become a part of his local, the union, and some of the barriers to success there. You know, sometimes when you do advise people of the opportunities, are they willing to make the sacrifices to make it happen at the same time?
And these are opportunities in addition to the ones that are already there.
Well, I mean, in addition to, but I think that, you know, you're assuming that they know what's already there. I think that sometimes that, you know, when you colonize poverty, as such as what we have in the inner city, you have this groupthink process where people, you know, choose from what they see and what they know. You know, my mom worked in corporate America, so guess what I did? I worked in corporate America. My brother's dad was a carpenter, and guess what my brother is? He's a laborer. You duplicate what you see and what you know, and I think it's very important for us to create more opportunities for exposure and access to opportunities for the young people in our community, and to prepare them for those opportunities, because sometimes some people, there are some steps that were missed. You know, in my experience in the prosecutor's office, I've done a lot of I've had an opportunity to work on a lot of rehabilitative programs, and sometimes there are educational barriers that will limit people's ability to take advantage of opportunities. And so you have to meet them where they are and say, here's the gamut of opportunities that are available, and we are willing to help you to be prepared for that opportunity when you get there.
Certainly, certainly. And is the playing field level?
You know, I think it depends. It depends on what field you're talking about. I think it depends on who the players are that you line up in the field, too.
Okay.
So there are a lot of variables. I do think that there's opportunity for us, and when I say us, meaning those of us that are committed to serving the inner city, to prepare our young people. And not just young people, there are some parents. There is a period of time where it's evident that something was missing.
Well, Ms. Canady, let's focus in on the 5th District. As far as the youth, do you feel that there's a disconnect today at all? Are youth being raised with the same values and traditions that we were raised in? I graduated in high school in '98, so I'm a year behind you. And some of the things that I see were there when we were in school, but not to the extent to where they are today.
You know, you said a word that just triggers me. You said values. I think that's one of the key components. That's one of those things that's missing in our community, the culture of instilling values. You know, I like to reference, you know, I was raised by a single parent, but I had a lot of influence from my grandparents. And my grandfather was born in 1908. My grandmother was born in 1913. And so that's old school. The values that were instilled in me.
7 years before mine.
Yeah, and so the values that are instilled in me, I would like to believe that the children today are getting that, but that's old school. Kids today, it's a different everything's different for them.
It's a different world.
It's a different world for them. But, and I don't want to use a lot of colloquialism, but, you can't throw out the good, yes, old school, but there's value in it. And so we have to be able to retain the value in raising our children and teaching them integrity and work ethics and being respectful and loving your neighbor. The real core values of what it takes to be a good citizen, and demonstrate that in our community.
Well, that's not any different than what we learned in the old school, just maybe a different way of presenting it to them. Okay, I could talk to you for hours about this, but I do want to kind of talk about a comment that you made, particularly in response to several candidates who are running for the 5th District. You were asked by 41 Action News about your plans if you were to get elected. And you mentioned economic development is huge, and I'm reading, it's important to have entrepreneurship and business expansion and support small businesses and create jobs. Do you have anything specifically that you would implement?
And I'd like to just clarify what that was a
Please.
snippet of a more in-depth conversation. Economic development is not just building houses, especially when you're dealing with a component of the 5th District that has a high concentration of poverty. Economic development in that context is just, economic development is a catchphrase, but we need to be specific in what that really means. And what that means is that we need to provide economic opportunities to empower the residents, meaning create access to jobs that pay a living wage where they can provide for their families without government subsidies. That means empowering neighborhood people that live in the community to become homeowners. Because in a community where they're owner-occupied homes, you have a different dynamic than you have a neighborhood full of renters. Studies have shown that when owner occupancy drops below 30%, crime, becomes more exponentially rampant. And so we have to look at proactively and how to increase the economic base in the 5th District, and you do that through encouraging business opportunities to come in, which will create jobs. You do that by encouraging entrepreneurship and supporting people who are willing to do business in the inner city to create opportunities for them so they can be supported. Because let's just be realistic, in some parts of the 5th District, 6413 in particular, approximately 40% of the adult males are felons in that community. Mm-hmm. And so the question becomes, are they employable? Are they able to obtain employment at a living wage? And so with those barriers that may be in place, entrepreneurship is something that should be considered to make sure that they're in a position to be able to provide for their families. And some people, they receive their felony by being entrepreneurial. They were just selling their own product. And so we need to find ways to be able to tap into those individuals that have the entrepreneurial spirit, give them the proper principles to do business and not a hustle, and then they can be able to get back in their community in a meaningful way.
Now, that's wonderful, and I don't mean to be a menace here, but do you have any special insight that you can offer with your job at the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office as far as crime prevention?
I was very privileged to be on the ground level when we were putting together some programs to address violent crime. The initial program that we implemented was a New Start program, which was a pilot program. And from New Start, we evolved into what is now KC Nova. We took our best practices from that initiative and the partnerships that we brought in and the lessons learned, and we have been able to move forward into what you see now, which is KC No Violence Alliance. And so my role was, the component was the community piece of it, engaging stakeholders, bringing relationships to the table.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
So,
I know these groups all work together, and last year with the significant drop in crime, kudos to you. We do applaud you for the work that you've done through the prosecuting office.
Thank you.
Okay, quick question. Can you tell us why you're running? We know that you have your feet in a lot of different community activities and resources, and way things should be, but is there a specific person or reason why you're running?
If I could just sum it up really simply, it's being boots on ground, identifying issues and how we can proactively address crime, it became very clear that the issues were more so quality of life issues, and crime was just a symptom. And so until you can get into a position where you are able to repair the breaches in our community and address the underlying issues, we're always going to be treating the symptoms. And so, I had one day I just had an epiphany. We were canvassing a neighborhood in Town Fork Creek, which is my neighborhood, and I knocked on the door of a woman, very nice and neatly maintained home, and she came to the door very nervous, and I asked her, what's going on in your community? This is what we're here to do. We want to be proactive. I'm your point of contact. Let me know if there's something we need to address. And her response was, honey, I only leave this house to go to church and to the grocery store. She had raised her children at home, had been in that neighborhood over 30 years, and had maintained her home, but she was scared to sit on her front porch. And looking across the street from her home were nothing but vacant houses, blight, all bulky item trash, all strewn on the street. And that was very disheartening, because here's a woman who was a taxpayer, had raised her family, and was willing to stay in the heart of the city.
I'm sure.
And we failed her. And so that really struck my heart, because that could have been my grandmother. And, it's not fair to her for her to have to live in those straits. And at this point in her life, what was she going to do? Sell her house and move away? And so we have seniors in our community that are almost like victims. That's troubling to me. And so when I began to look at how do we address these issues, there was no one there that I could hike the ball to. Mm-hmm. And in my role in the prosecutor's office, I'm very limited, and Jean's very supportive of us doing things proactively, but I couldn't really go too far in mission creep either. And so I realized that there was not that one person, and I sat down and talked with many community leaders to find out how we could address these things. And moreover, time and time again, the answer kept coming back that that's a function that could be most effectively addressed at City Hall as the council person. And so I said yes to that challenge. And it's been a journey, but it's one that's well worth it, because we have to repair the breaches in our community.
And what do you say to viewers who might say, well, this isn't a job for you, and why should we vote for you?
Well, my response to that would be, I didn't think it was a job for me. But when I realized that no one else was willing to take on the challenge, and I had firsthand experience and knowledge of what the issues were, I am that somebody. And I've proven over my life experience of my ability to be proactive, be innovative, be a hard worker, and being trustworthy. And so that, in addition to that, my professional experience in academic education has prepared me for the opportunity. So I work to continue to earn the respect and trust of my neighbors, and ask for their support on April 7th.
Well, we love lawyers. You can give them a question, but they know how to respond. Thank you, Ms. Canady. We'll give you the final word.
I'd like to commend you for your work at bringing real issues to the community in a convenient way, and I applaud the work that you all are doing here at Cascade Media, and in the community, people who are involved, boots on ground, that are working hard but are frustrated because they feel like they don't have support in City Hall. But that's what I plan to take on, to be a very serious advocate for the neighborhoods, while at the same time working to strategically bring resources back to our community.
Thank you, What's Up Kansas City, for tuning in today. Ms. Canady, we will have to ask you to come back, have you back on the show to talk to us at a later date, and update us on some of the progress that you've made. Check out more video online and more candidate information at www.whatsupkansascity.net. I'm your host, Glenn Brian Frizzell. Remember, the sky is the limit. Aim high. Shoot for the moon. If you miss, at the very least, you would have landed among the stars. Take care. Until next time.
CMG wants you to always remember, the victory we call success goes to the best prepared. When you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Thanks.